Welcome, Innerspace Surfer. Today's episode is the first in an ongoing series called the Soul-Centric Business Spotlight. I can't wait to introduce you to an amazing businesswoman, personal friend, and founder of Phoenix-based Soul Carrier. Soul Carrier was founded in 2011 by designer Jennifer Boonlorn. Raised in Phoenix, Arizona, Jenn graduated from Arizona State University with a degree in business with the goal of becoming a lawyer. After losing both of her parents in a family car accident when she was a senior in college, she found it imperative to rethink her future path. Moments before the accident, her mother said, "Where do you want to go?" This became a mantra pumping through her veins, motivating her to tune out the noise, follow her heart, and forge her own path. She so desperately wanted to fulfill her father's dream to be a lawyer, but her heart was with the arts. Jenifer relocated to New York City to pursue a career in the fashion industry. Followed by an unparalleled education at Parsons, the new school for design, she worked alongside fashion icons Oscar de la Renta and Henry Bendel. In 2012, Jenn was asked to create a piece of art for the grand opening of Barney's New York at Scottsdale Fashion Square. It was at that moment she was able to turn her passion into realizing her dream of starting a high-end handbag company. That brand is Soul Carrier, a name inspired by Jenn's mindset to let your soul carry you wherever you want to go. So it's with great pleasure that I invite you to eavesdrop in on my convo with Jennifer Boonlorn. Hi!
This is so exciting.
It's so exciting. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
It's so good to see you.
No, it's been years. And
too long.
Added years.
I know. But I see you online all the time. On the gram. I'm more on the gram than on the Facebooks. So
I agree. Me too.
Yeah. The energy feels a little lighter over there.
I got what you're saying.
It feels a little lighter. Yeah. Yes. And so I was trying to think, so Jenn and I met at the W.P. Carey School of Business at ASU. And so I couldn't remember the year. So I'm pretty sure I worked in the Center for Entrepreneurship in 17 and 18.
Okay.
Does that sound right?
It sounds right, because I remember having a couple of moments around 17 or 18, like, what am I doing? Which direction am I going? And Jill Harthoon suggested I go just kind of tap into ASU resources. So I talked to you, and there was someone else, maybe alumni relations. But I remember coming to campus like a handful of times, and then
yeah, I couldn't remember who sent you my way. Because also when I was a career coach at ASU, I really focused a lot with our MBA students on personal branding. And so you were like, oh, so-and-so referred me and they said you were really good with personal branding and you're in the Center for Entrepreneurship. And I didn't even know we had a Center for Entrepreneurship. So I remember being so captivated with what you already were doing. And to think that was just 4 years ago, like you've come so far, and it's been so incredible to see your brand and you as a beautiful human evolve with it. And I think it's Susie Batiste, the founder and CEO of Poopery, who's always talking about your business is your spiritual journey, like business as a spiritual journey. And so I love that, because I feel like that's kind of that's all tied into your stuff. So I'm not going to take up any more time. I'm going to let you jump into your story, if you'll walk us through your story, and then we'll get more on the business side of it after you kind of tell us who you are, what you're about, where you're from.
I love it. Back to the quote from Susie, the potpourri girl. One of my best friends used to say to me, Jenn, the cap on Soul Carrier is going to be the cap on your own personal growth. So that where you tap out,
feel that.
Can't just... And I was
yes.
And I think we see a lot of companies that are successful and amazing, but the founder's personal life is like a mess. And I was like, no, if I need to clean up things in my one area, it's going to tie over to the other area.
Yes. I just was listening to a podcast with Blake, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right. Mykoski from Tom's.
Yes.
Wow. And hearing how he really hit that whole existential crisis, because he was like, everyone thinks, you hear the stories of the founder who made all this money, and then they're going to go do all of this philanthropic work. He's like, but I was doing both at the same time. And then he still hit the existential wall of like, WTF.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very interesting.
So interesting.
Especially being at the beginning of my journey with this and seeing where we'll have to schedule an appointment for 4 years from now.
Yeah,
we'll hop back on. You can interview me.
I love it.
Okay. Enough about that stuff.
Soul Carrier is my brand, and it's a line of, and I've got my babies here. It's a line
I
of
love it.
services, and I'll go into all of them. But it started, I've always been drawn to design and creativity. My dad was an architect, but growing up, he kind of was like, stay out of the design field. And he had these visions of me being a lawyer. So that was also planted in my head. And yet my natural tendencies were always towards fashion and design and anything creative.
And you grew up in Phoenix, and he was an architect in Phoenix.
He was an architect in Phoenix. So born and raised here, went off to ASU, did the ASU thing. And at that point I chose business, and I thought, well, I'll do business and then I'll, apply to law school when I graduate. And between my junior and senior year, my entire family was in a car accident, and that car accident took the lives of like both of my parents. And then they're gone. And I thought, I'm going to honor them by going to law school. And then there was a little part of me too that I wanted to, there was a lot of eyes on me and a lot of like, what's she going to do? And is she going to fall apart? And so I was like,
and eyes on you because your father was very,
I think my mother homeschooled us growing up, and that world tends to be, how do we say, very conservative and a little hovering parenting. My parents were amazing, and they weren't. They were the anomaly to that world. But some of my mom's friends are very like, shh. And so I think they're all watching. And I mean, junior in college, so I was like old enough to make it on my own, but still so much of life ahead of me that, you want that guidance and nurturing. But really, I was a young adult, but I was like, I'm going to show them. I'm going to show them, because I had friends saying like, you're going to become this crazy party girl, or you're going to become a Jesus freak. And it annoyed me.
Thanks for putting all that projection on you.
I was like, why are those the only two choices? And no, I'm going to be balanced in the middle. And so, but part of me was like, watch me in a like, I'm going to go to law school and become this prestigious attorney. And almost to like, I don't know, prove them wrong or show off. Kimmy, I took the LSATs multiple times at ASU and took all the prep courses, and I did not, my mind doesn't work that way. I didn't score well. I applied to ASU. I applied to Berkeley. I had a very, very close friend who will be part of my story later on, but he was an ASU student too, and we were all just super tight, and he was going off to Berkeley. I was like, well, if Brian's going to Berkeley, maybe I'll apply to Berkeley and we'll all just continue this college hangout thing. And Berkeley didn't think that's a good enough reason.
Right. My friends are coming. Can't I come?
Yeah. So I start kind of going back to what I love, which is fashion. I already had my degree from ASU, and MCC had a fashion program, and I thought, I'm going to dabble. So I took history of fashion, color theory.
And MCC is the community college.
Correct. Mesa Community College. And on the very first night, the leader of the program, Yvonne Bowling, was like, hey, this summer I'm taking a group of students to New York, like a 1-week tour of the fashion industry. Like, you should sign up. And I did. And oh my gosh, Kimmy, it was pure magic. So
you got bit by the bug.
Oh, my parents had taken me to New York, but then again, I'm going now, like I'm in my early 20s, and it's just like, wow, we toured Fashion Institute of Technology. I toured Parsons on my own. We met with designers and photographers and the guys who do the windows at Saks Fifth Avenue and hats. And it's just like, this is an industry. Like, it felt like candy, because I almost paralleled it to, if you're a young student or you're like, I want to go to Hollywood, and everyone's like, oh, that's cute. It's a total pipe dream, but that's cute. And so just like, I want to be in fashion. It's like, yeah, we're here in Phoenix, whatever. And then going there, it's like, oh no, this is a very real thing. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And you don't have to just be a designer or a buyer. There are a zillion opportunities in between. I mean, there's people who pick out colors and thread color, and then the people who build out the windows. And so it's like, really, there's anything. And so I applied to Parsons. I got in. There's another friend who also plays a part in my journey. His name is Andy Brown. My ASU's like family and friends were just phenomenal. Still to this day, they're some of my very best friends. And so I just want to jump in because this show, we really want to enhance people owning and understanding intuition and their own intuitive voice. So at that point, like, was there a layer of that at that age for you where you were like, this is a yes, full on going into it? Did you trust that, or was there some wavering? What was that? What was that like? Well, when I was in New York, it was like, I can't not do. The pull was so strong and I was so lit up. I came home and there was a little bit of like, being scared, being like, I'm going to leave the base that I know. My sister's here. My friends are here. I have a condo with roommates and I'm going to go to New York and not know anyone. This is scary.
Super scary.
I was watching, The Devil Wears Prada and Project Runway came out and I was like,
you're like, I'm going to go work with Heidi.
Sex in the City, all the things. Like,
yes.
In my kind of sphere.
Yeah.
And so I applied. I was bringing up the friend Andy Brown. He's a downtown Phoenix muralist and he had a t-shirt company. So I used his brand. You had to like analyze a brand, and I analyzed his brand and some of the cool marketing he did and use that in my essay, get into Parsons. And then the friend who I wanted to follow to Berkeley, he ended up in New York City at the United Nations. And we're like, oh my gosh, we should all be roommates. So it so helped that Brian was there because we kind of held each other's hands. It was like, all right,
sure,
we're in an apartment together. He had already lived in New York a year or two. He knew the city, and he's been like a brother to me, like since day one.
So you kind of did get to do that college experience again. Just wasn't in Berkeley. It was in NYC. Yeah, you landed where you were supposed to. Yeah,
and it was so fantastic. It was him and his boyfriend, and it was just the whole like. Living with the two gay guys, and they bought me my first pair of Manolo Blahnik. Like it was amazing. It was so amazing. And so I go to Parsons day one. I have this class with a professor, Tom Hanley, and he gives us a syllabus. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is school. And it was, okay, you need to go to Saks Fifth Avenue and analyze each floor. Like, why is Marc Jacobs not on the same floor as Oscar de la Renta? And why is Tory Burch merchandised the way she is? I'm like, this is fun. And then we had to analyze magazines, and it was just pure candy.
And how exciting.
So fun.
And you were in your early 20s.
Early 20s. I was,
oh my gosh,
25, 26. So just the time to like be there and
all of that creative energy. And I'm sure that just like fed and inspired all the things in your brain.
Because I would have nothing on the calendar, and I would just walk the city, and I'd be like, I'm going to go do all the fancy shops, or I'm going to go to the galleries, or I'm going to go down to Chinatown and look at like, the areas where there's buttons and the garment industry, and like whatever.
You were just a little sponge soaking it all up.
It was phenomenal. And so it was a 2-year program at Parsons. And then I stayed 2 more years, worked at Oscar de la Renta, American Eagle, like the clothing line in their pre-production, had an internship at Women's Wear Daily, straight up Devil Wears Prada.
You probably can't talk about that stuff, right? You signed what is it, a non-disclosure?
I found some of the people I've worked with on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh, I remember you. I remember how their very first day, they send me on a photo shoot out to New Jersey with these beautiful models, horses, like Ralph Lauren gowns, like all the things. And I'm dressing the model, and we put the shoes on, and she's like, oh, these don't fit me. Like I'm a size 10 and they're 7. And the creative director starts yelling at me, and I'm like, what do you want to do? I like cut her feet, cut the shoe, like the shoes in a size that doesn't work. But
right.
moments like that, you're like, oh my God.
What did you do? How did you solve it?